Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East. Welcome. The number of casualties increased as a result of 5 suicide operations that took place in Baghdad, killing 42 people, among them 2 children and 19 women. In addition, 216 were injured, and a U.S. soldier was among those killed. Among the targets was the headquarters for the Committee of the Red Cross in the center of Baghdad, the Ministries of Health and Industry, in addition to Iraqi police stations. A U.S. military spokesman in Baghdad said that the Iraqi police arrested a man carrying a Syrian passport, saying that he was not able to detonate his car, which was loaded with explosives. A Hezbollah fighter hit an Israeli military position on the border of the Sheba Farms area using missiles. An Israeli military spokesman confirmed that no one was injured in the attack. The Israeli army retaliated by launching tank missiles on a Lebanese village. A Hezbollah statement said that a group of Islamic resistance attacked Israeli enemy positions in Rusayat, Al-Alam, Al-Samaha, and Ramtha, with gunfire making a direct hit. Witnesses said that Israel responded by launching tank missiles at the villages of Kafar Shuba, Kafar Hammam, and Rashia al-Fukar in Lebanon. In front of a European Union delegation visiting Jerusalem, the Israeli Prime Minister, Ariel Sharon, demanded that they should include Lebanese Hezbollah in the European Union's list of terrorist organizations, saying that this is necessary and must not be delayed.
Hezbollah should be added to the list of terrorist organizations, especially by the European Union. Only friends of Israel and those who love peace can make tangible contributions to negotiations with Israel and her neighbors.
Regarding Palestine, Sharon announced that Tel Aviv does not plan to kill Palestinian President Yasser Arafat.
We do not see any plans to kill him, although he is responsible for the killing of thousands of people, most of whom were civilians.
Welcome to the news from Abu Dhabi TV. In Baghdad, 5 suicide operations killed 42 people, including 2 children and 19 women, in addition to wounding 216 people and killing a U.S. soldier. The explosion targeted the Red Cross headquarters in central Baghdad, the health and industry ministries, and Iraqi police stations. A U.S. military spokesman confirmed that the Iraqi police arrested a man with a Syrian passport before he could detonate his car bomb. Early this morning, new explosions hit the Iraqi capital, Baghdad. The first explosion occurred at the Red Cross headquarters in the Andalusia Plaza in central Baghdad. A speeding ambulance collided into cement blocks, causing violent explosions, massive damages, and killing a number of employees.
We're not sure of what happened, but the bomb did not explode and the driver tried to escape from the car. He is a foreigner and carries a Syrian passport. The policeman reported firing at the suspect. He fell and confessed that he is a Syrian citizen.
Eyewitnesses, however, told another story.
The ambulance turned around the corner and then exploded.
A neighboring business and house were damaged, and the residents were severely injured, as described by the homeowner.
Right there, my home is riddled with shrapnels, and my daughter and wife were injured.
Parts of the bomber were seen as they blasted into the neighboring building. After the explosion, ambulances and fire trucks rushed to the area, and the U.S. forces surrounded the location. Meanwhile, an employee at the building refused to give any information on the incident.
He is not authorized to give any statements. I don't know. I don't know.
In Baghdad, many people have been killed or wounded on the first day of Ramadan. In another area, an explosion occurred at the Bahia police station in the Ilam district south of Baghdad. A car bomb exploded inside the building, causing massive damages to it, also damaging neighboring buildings and parked U.S. military vehicles. In Sha'ab, north of Baghdad, a mortar shell was fired at the police station there, but it went off course, hitting a nearby building, destroying it, killing and wounding a number of people. After the attack on Al Rashid Hotel, 2 bombs fell on the presidential complex in central Baghdad, currently the coalition forces headquarters. Baghdad witnessed a day filled with explosions, as if the bombers were wishing the Iraqis a happy Ramadan. Last night, a chain of explosions began and is carrying on today, but no one knows when these loaded messages will end. Hamza Hussein, Abu Dhabi Television, Baghdad.
A large number of U.S. tanks and armory vehicles surrounded Al-Alam office in Baghdad as U.S. forces raided the building. They searched the office and handcuffed employees who have been working there for some time. The U.S. forces treated them in an irresponsible manner and did not reveal the reasons behind the raid. During the operation, the U.S. soldiers prevented journalists and photographers from covering the incident.
For the last 6 months, the U.S. has developed a strategy using their military forces in Iraq to prevent media from reporting the truth about what is happening there. To impose one point view, the United States is silencing and oppressing the media. They targeted Al Arabiya, Abu Dhabi Television, and Al Jazeera, whose reporter, Tariq Ayoub, was martyred. Not to mention that access is restricted for international, European, and American journalists as well. Now, it seems that Al-Alam's turn has come with the targeting of its office in Baghdad. In a hysterical military operation, to say the least, U.S. forces raided the Al-Alam office in the Iraqi capital. It seems that the United States is now using the strategy of intimidation and silencing, which was famous in the McCarthy era in the 1950s. Al-Alam television did not do anything except its duty, but it seems that covering the suffering of the Iraqi people under the occupation and by the former regime has annoyed the United States Pentagon. They decided to raid Al-Alam television office in Baghdad, destroying equipment and attacking the employees that were working there. The fear of telling the truth causes hysteria amongst the U.S. forces, which raises a long list of questions about the killing and disappearance of many journalists in Iraq, not to mention the real motives behind the war and its implications on the American people.
Millions of Muslims around the world started observing the holy month of Ramadan, while the Islamic nation is saddened by events in the occupied Palestinian territories and Iraq. This report has more.
Muslims in the Middle East mark the holy fasting month of Ramadan this year in a somber mood, the first since US-led forces occupied Iraq, which is still sunk in confusion and chaos, and the third since the Palestinian Intifada started. The holy month of Ramadan is calculated according to the lunar calendar and begins once the new crescent moon is sighted. It began on Sunday in Egypt, Yemen, Libya, Sudan, Jordan and the Palestinian territories, and on Monday in Gulf Arab states, Iraq, Algeria, Syria and Lebanon, while in Pakistan it will start on Tuesday. In the Muslim tradition, the month of Ramadan, the holiest among months, is the month of piety, almsgiving and fasting, in order to instill the body and spirit with the rigors of abstinence. It is the month when the Holy Quran was revealed to Prophet Muhammad, peace be be upon him. As Iraqis prepared for the month of Ramadan, there are continued worries of occupation, security and lawlessness. Shopping was brisk in the occupied capital Baghdad as the residents stocked up in preparation for the month-long dawn to dusk fast.
I came here for shopping to buy what I need as every year. I'll buy spices, muhallabi and other items that I need.
The market is good. A lot of people are coming to shop, but we are in need of stability and security.
Usually Iraqis fill the shops after breaking their fast at sundown and keep coming into the early hours to buy things. But shopkeepers and restaurant owners seemed skeptical that customers would throng their shops as usual in a city where shooting, kidnapping and robbery have soared since the US-led war against Iraq.
We hope and we look forward for the tense conditions to be relaxed, so people can freely wander about and perform their religious rituals, visit holy shrines and eat Ramadan meals.
We want security only. The governing council has to think about us, let them speak on the television and make people aware. We need security.
And where there's security, like in Egypt, Muslims were in the markets to buy food, including the Ramadan sweets. At night, they will break their fast and spend time worshipping Allah.
And Israel was again accused Monday of breaching the terms of the so-called Middle East roadmap after granting permanent settlement status to at least 5 illegal outposts in the West Bank. A senior advisor to Defense Minister Shaul Mofaz said the decision would allow the settlements to obtain grants for education and infrastructure projects, as well as making them eligible for protection by security forces. The Israeli radio said several of these outposts had earlier been dismantled by the army. In addition, the radio reported that Parliament's Finance Commission would unlock Monday some $29 million worth of funds to build apartments in West Bank settlements, which all considered as illegal by UN resolutions. Palestinian Minister Saber Erekat said the latest move illustrated that Sharon's government was determined to kill off the roadmap. He called on the sponsors of the roadmap to pressure Israel to reserve its decision, which he described as part of a wider aim to destroy the peace process and the Palestinian Authority and prolong the occupation. Every year when the olive harvesting season starts, Israeli occupation troops uproot hundreds of olive trees with the pretext of security needs and shoot at Palestinian farmers trying to make a living out of their olives. The village of Mughayr is a small-scale example of the many difficulties facing the Palestinians who risk their lives to stay alive.
Since the very first day of the Palestinian struggle against Israeli occupation, the Palestinian olive tree has been a constant target of Israeli troops and settlers. Just as Palestinian fighters, the olive tree is being assassinated. The means of assassination is uprooting or cutting. The timing is almost always the harvesting season. The place is every olive orchard. The case of the village of Al-Mughayr to the northeast of Ramallah is a clear-cut evidence of Israeli aggression against this holy tree. Hundreds of olive trees are uprooted by occupation bulldozers or so cut under the pretext of security necessities.
Before it was harvesting season, they came and cut these trees all along that road. A week later, they cut these trees you see there.
The owners of the plantations near these settlements cannot go picking because the occupation army prevents them from reaching their lands. Still, they risk their life because they have no other choice.
I came with my children along with all my family and neighbors. We come to pick the olives before they expel us. When the occupation army leaves, we seize the opportunity. We come to the orchard and stay until sunset. We want to get through and go because these trees are our life. Our olives keep us alive.
But this is not the whole story. A sole Israeli settler occupying a nearby mountain prevents by force and under the shield of the occupation army the Palestinian peasants from reaching their lands. From time to time, he even attacks the village and opens fire on civilians and their cattle. This is the story of this small village, a one-settler settlement, an Israeli military camp, devastated lands, cut and uprooted trees, and stolen water sources. It sums up the various sufferings of the Palestinian peasants who are engaged in a war for survival, with the Israeli troops always seeking to starve and consequently displace the ever-steadfast villagers.
The Israeli occupation forces invaded the Zahra neighborhood in northern Gaza and destroyed 3 large buildings after forcing people to leave the area. The Palestinian Prime Minister Ahmed Qurayh said that the Israeli continuous construction of the separating wall is destroying the entire peace process. This is how the Palestinian territories look like. More destruction, confiscation, curfews, killings, and massacres. The Zionist forces have been doing these kinds of actions daily while the world is watching. Recently, Israeli occupation forces invaded the Zahra neighborhood in northern Gaza. Their tanks shelled some Palestinian homes, and then 3 large buildings were demolished after forcing all the people in the neighborhood to leave. The buildings belonged to employees working for the Palestinian Security Agency, who were preparing to move into these apartments in the next few weeks. Furthermore, the Zionist forces exploded the Palestinian police headquarters. They also shelled Palestinian homes in Khan Yunis and its refugee camps with mortar shells and heavy machine gun fire on an unprecedented scale, damaging dozens of Palestinian homes. The Palestinian resistance responded by launching some mortar shells at the Zionist settlements southern of Khan Yunis. Nabil Abu Rdaina, an advisor to President Yasser Arafat, condemned the home demolition, saying that it is another war crime that comes within a series of daily Israeli crimes. He confirmed that these Israeli actions will not go unpunished. The Palestinian Prime Minister Ahmed Qurayh said that the Israeli plan to continue building the separation wall will destroy the entire peace process and will make it meaningless. Meanwhile, the Al-Aqsa Brigades announced that one of its activists was martyred after he carried out an armed attack on occupation forces in a military installation near Kisifyum settlement in Khan Yunis. Jamal Ghassan, a Palestinian citizen, was martyred from his wounds, which he endured at the hands of the Zionist occupation forces in the West Bank.
In another hotbed of violence, Israeli warplanes bombed Hezbollah positions on Monday after the forces came under fire in the disputed Sheba Farms border area. An Israeli military source said that Israeli aircraft were used in the operation. Another Israeli source described the ongoing exchanges between the two sides as pretty intense, raising fears of a new spiral of violence in the region after a period of relative calm. Lebanese police said that 2 Israeli jets fired 6 air-to-surface missiles at 2 suspected Hezbollah positions near the villages of Kfar Shoba and Meri on the Lebanese side of the border. Hezbollah confirmed in a statement that the group fired 35 mortar rounds and rockets at positions in Ruwaysat al-Alam, Samqa and Ramta on the flanks of the Mount Hermon and facing the village of Sheba in Lebanese territory. The flare-up in violence comes as German efforts to negotiate a prisoners exchange deal between Israel and Hezbollah have so far failed to result in a predicted breakthrough. In the Palestinian territories and in new violation of the terms of the Middle East Peace Roadmap, Israel granted permanent settlement status to at least 5 illegal outposts in the West Bank. A senior advisor to Defense Minister Shaul Mofaz said that the decision would allow the settlements to obtain grants for education and infrastructure projects, as well as making them eligible for protection by security forces. The Israeli radio reported that several of the outposts said to be accorded legal status and earlier been dismantled by the army. In addition, the radio reported that Parliament's Finance Commission would unlock Monday some $29 million worth of funds to build apartments in West Bank settlements. The decision comes just 4 days after Israel also sparked accusations of flouting the roadmap by inviting tenders to build more than 300 apartments in West Bank settlements. Under the terms of the internationally drafted roadmap, Israel is obliged to freeze settlement activities in general and dismantle around 60 outposts in the West Bank that have been set up since Prime Minister Ariel Sharon came to power back in March 2001.
Tens of thousands of Americans demonstrated in Washington and San Francisco against the occupation of Iraq, demanding that George Bush bring the troops home. More details with our reporter from Washington.
Since the fall of Baghdad, the American capital did not witness such a large demonstration against Bush's policy and the occupation of Iraq. Tens of thousands of Americans came to Washington for more than 150 cities to demonstrate around the Washington Monument, Pennsylvania Avenue, and around the White House and the Department of Justice. Young men, older people, fathers strolling their children, mothers and grandmothers, all were holding signs calling for ending the occupation of Iraq and bringing the U.S. troops home. Some held signs that read, "Spend our money on health and educational programs, do not spend it in Iraq." Successful demonstrations like this one were held in the past when anti-war organizations and groups coordinated their efforts. Today, such demonstrations have become a consistent part of the political life in America. What is unique about this demonstration is the fact that it is the first time that military families of U.S. soldiers serving in Iraq have effectively shown their opposition. Some of them spoke very critically of Bush and his local and foreign policies, demanding to bring back the soldiers from Iraq to the United States. Presidential candidate Al Sharpton, former U.S. Attorney General Ramsey Clark, and other speakers participated in the demonstration. Signs were written in Arabic, Spanish, Korean, English, Chinese, and Russian, condemning the current policies of conservative U.S. officials serving in the White House, the Pentagon, and the heads of the U.S. governing authority in Iraq. Speakers spoke in solidarity with the Palestinian people who are facing Israeli war crimes and condemned the latest Israeli aggression on Syria.
In the name of God, the Compassionate, the Merciful, hello, welcome to Jane in English News, coming to you live from Tehran. Monday ushered in the Muslim holy month of Ramadan in Iran. Jane and Said Tawfiqi takes a closer look at Ramadan.
The fasting month of Ramadan started in Iran with their spiritual era. Iranians dusted off mosques 10 days ahead of Islam's holiest month to get prepared for spiritual purification. Fasting is not all about refraining from food from dawn to dusk. This is the time to receive God's blessings, the man said. As the fasting period draws to a close, the call for prayer fills the air. Allahu Akbar, Allah. Before dusk, streets are crammed with people who are on their way home to break their fast with other members of the family. In Ramadan, get-togethers are more common. Benefactors offer free meal to the poor. The move is designed to give the faithful a taste of hunger and thirst the needy suffer from. Shops, traditional tea houses, and most public places stay open till late in the evening to serve meals to fasting people. Iranian foods are widely served across the country throughout the holy month. Unique to Ramadan, special meals are handed out on the streets. Closeness to the Almighty is the prime message of the month. This is the time when the first verses of the Holy Quran were revealed to the Prophet Muhammad some 1400 years ago. To mark this divine revelation, worshippers keep all-night vigils to repent of their past sins. They truly believe their destiny will be sealed during the 3-night period, widely known as the Nights of Power. The holy month of Ramadan comes to a climax with the Muslim feast of Eid al-Fitr, in which people hold special prayers and celebrate. However, they look forward to embracing Ramadan next year again. Say Tawfiri, Tehran. Allahumma inni as'aluka khayra.
Government spokesman Abdullah Ramazanzadeh says Iran has not so far set a definite timetable concerning suspicion of its uranium enrichment activities. Speaking at a weekly press briefing, Mr. Ramazanzadeh reiterated Tehran will abide by its previous commitments to the Non-Proliferation Treaty, as well as those made in Tehran's four-way statement, as long as others make good on their promises in that regard. As for allegedly bringing to a halt construction of Bushehr nuclear power plant, Ramazanzadeh asserted that completion of Bushehr plant has nothing to do with the NPT's additional protocol. Thereby, as he added, Iran will never stop construction of the Bushehr power plant. The government spokesman accentuated that Tehran will make decisions merely on the basis of its national interest and is not seeking to satisfy the White House officials. Combatant divisions of Iranian Army Ground Force on Monday launched the first phase of Tunda war games in the area of Iran-Shahr, southeastern province of Sistan-Baluchistan. Employing modern military tactics and machinery and backed by heavy artillery, missile and tank fires, the participating armored divisions unleashed a blitz on the trenches of hypothetical opponent forces, also flying around during the overnight drills were the Land Force Airborne Division's choppers of Cobra, which raided the mock targets and installations far off to the depth of enemy stances. As another part of the maneuver, the Air Force fighter jets were seen to provide illumination coverage for surveillance and swift reaction teams, who were also helped forward by shoulder-launched missiles. 35 people were killed and 230 were wounded in attacks Monday in Baghdad aimed at Red Cross offices and 3 police stations. The bombings, described as coordinated, produced the bloodiest day in the Iraqi capital since Saddam Hussein's overthrow by US-led forces in April. Iraq's believed chief and deputy interior minister Ahmad Ibrahim said 8 of those killed in Monday's blast were Iraqi police officers. This is while U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell said on Sunday Washington had not expected the security problems in Iraq would have been quite as tense for so long. British Foreign Minister Jack Straw expressed shock and outrage over Monday's attacks, and Foreign Minister of Iraqi Transitional Government Hushyar Zebari, pointing to U.S. and British forces' inability to restore security to Iraq, also said the conditions will improve in the country only once Iraqis themselves take security issues in their own hands. A senior planning official at the Nation Oil Company says Iran will be singled out as the second heavyweight in oil and gas production in the coming 10 years. Mr. Mughadam, saying this on Monday, added according to estimates by the oil-producing and exporting countries OPEC, Iran should retain a 4.5 million barrel daily production of crude oil by the Iranian year 1389, beginning March 20th, 2010. Hence, greater investment is required to be placed on the Fourth National Development Plan.
Mosaic is made possible by a grant from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation. which promotes journalism excellence worldwide and invests in the vitality of 26 U.S. communities. And the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. Additional support is provided by the Firedoll Foundation and Henry and Virgilia Dakin.